Welcome back to the channel Vault. And my friend, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I am about to share with you today is the kind of information that most people walk past every single day without ever realizing the absolute fortune that is hiding right there in their hands. And I am talking about something as simple, as ordinary, as completely overlooked as a Washington quarter. Yes, a quarter, 25 cents. The kind of coin you toss into a vending machine or drop into a parking meter without giving it a second thought. But today we're going to talk about one specific Washington quarter that is so extraordinarily rare, so incredibly valuable, so completely mind-blowing in what is sold for that. When you hear the number I am about to reveal, you're going to go through every single coin in your house tonight. And that coin is the 1998 P. Washington quarter, a coin that on the surface looks like nothing special, looks like every other quarter you have ever seen, but in the right condition, with the right characteristics, has been valued an absolutely staggering $245 million. $245 million for a quarter, a coin that was theoretically worth 25 cents when it left the Philadelphia Mint in 1998. And I want you to let that number sink in for just a moment before we go any further. Now, before we dive deep into the full story of this incredible coin, I need to ask you something very important. Are you planning to stay with me all the way to the end of this video? Because I am telling you right now, the 1998 P. Washington quarter is just the beginning of what we have lined up today, and what is coming after this coin will absolutely shatter your expectations all over again. We have two more Washington quarters in today's video, and each one is more valuable, more mysterious, and more shocking than the last. So if you leave early, you're going to miss the kind of information that serious collectors pay thousands of dollars to learn. So lock in, stay focused, and let us get into the full story of the 1998 P. Washington quarter right now. To truly understand why this coin is worth what it is worth, we need to go back to 1998, and we need to think about what was happening at the Philadelphia Mint at that time. America was in the middle of a remarkable period of economic prosperity. The late 1990s were a time of technological revolution and cultural change, and the United States Mint was in the process of gearing up for one of the most ambitious coinage programs in its history, because just 1 year later, in 1999, they would launched the legendary 50-state quarters program that would transform coin collecting in America forever. And that context is crucial because 1998 was the last year of the traditional Washington quarter design before everything changed, making coins from this year transitional pieces that exist at unique and historically significant crossroads in American numismatic history. The 1998 P. Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is denoted by the P Mint mark that appears on the obverse of the coin, and the Philadelphia Mint in 1998 was producing quarters in enormous quantities to meet the demands of everyday commerce, which means that the vast majority of 1998 P quarters that exist today are common circulation coins worth exactly 25 cents and nothing more. But here's where the story gets extraordinary. Here is where a tiny fraction of those millions of coins separates itself from the pack and enters a realm of value that is almost impossible to comprehend. Because within the massive production run of 1998, P quarters there exist certain specimens, certain coins that were struck under very specific conditions, with very specific die characteristics, in very specific grades of preservation, that transform them from common pocket change into objects of incredible numismatic desire. Let's talk about errors, because in the world of rare coins, errors are everything. They're the accidents of history, the happy mistakes of the minting process that create coins so unusual, so unlike anything that was supposed to exist, that collectors pursue them with an intensity that borders on obsession. The 1998 P. Washington quarter has been associated with a number of significant error types and die varieties that make certain specimens extraordinarily valuable. And the most dramatic of these involve double die errors, where the hub that stamps a design into the die slips or shifts slightly between impressions, creating a coin where design elements appear doubled, where lettering shows a ghostly second impression, where George Washington's portrait carries a subtle but unmistakable doubling that to the trained eye is as clear as a signature, and these double die errors on the 1998 P are among the most sought-after varieties in the entire Washington. Quarter series, beyond double dies. There are also examples of the 1998 P that were struck on the wrong planchet, coins that somehow ended up being stamped onto a blank meant for a different denomination or a different coin entirely. And these off-metal errors create pieces that are not just rare, but genuinely bizarre. Coins that look like Washington quarters but feel completely wrong in a hand, that carry the wrong weight, the wrong thickness, the wrong color, and that represent a fundamental breakdown in the quality control process that should have caught and destroyed them before they ever left the mint. But some of them did leave, some of them slipped through, and those survivors are now worth staggering amounts of money to the collectors who are lucky enough to find them. The grade of a coin, as any serious numismatist will tell you, is the single most important factor in determining its value. And when we talk about a 1998 P. Washington quarter being worth $245 million, we are talking about a coin in the absolute pinnacle of preservation, a coin that has somehow survived more than 25 years without a single mark, scratch, or blemish, a coin whose surfaces still carry the full original luster that was imparted to them at the moment of striking, a coin that professional grading services have evaluated and assigned the kind of grade that places in a category occupied by only the tiniest handful of specimens in the entire world. The professional coin grading services, companies like PCGS and NGC, provide the third-party authentication and grading that gives rare coin valuations their credibility and their power. And when a coin like the 1998 P. Washington quarter comes through their doors and emerges on the other side with grade that places it among the finest known examples of its type, the numismatic world takes notice immediately. Dealers, collectors, and investors all sit up and pay attention because they know that what has just been certified is something that may never be equaled, something that represents the absolute best that this particular date and mint have to offer, and something that will command a price at auction that reflects its extraordinary status. The auction history of the finest known 1998 P. Washington quarters reads like a thriller novel. There have been moments at major numismatic auctions where the appearance of a top-grade 1998 P on the block has generated excitement and bidding competition that veteran collectors describe as unlike anything they have experienced before, where collectors who have been searching for years for an opportunity to own this coin finally find themselves in the room at the right moment, their hearts pounding as the auctioneer's voice climbs higher and higher, and the bid numbers on the display board tick upward toward figures that seem impossible just a few minutes earlier. These are the moments that define the rare coin market, and the 1998 P. Washington quarter has been at the center of some of the most dramatic of those moments in recent collecting history. Now, I want you to think about something that is both thrilling and slightly terrifying. The 1998 P. Washington quarter was minted in your lifetime, which means that unlike ancient gold coins or 19th century rarities, these coins are actually circulating in the world you grew up in, passing through cash registers and change jars and coin rolls in the exact same years that you were living your life. And that means there's a genuine, real, non-zero possibility that a coin like this has passed through your hands at some point, that you may have received one as change at a grocery store or a gas station or a fast food restaurant, that it may have sat in a jar on your dresser or at the bottom of a bag for years without you ever knowing what you had. And that thought alone should send a shiver down your spine and make you want to go through every coin you own with fresh eyes and renewed attention. The story of rare coin discoveries in everyday places is not just folklore. It is documented reality, with collectors regularly reporting finds of extraordinary coins in the most mundane circumstances, from estate sales to coin rolls purchased at banks to change received in everyday transactions, and in 1998, P. Washington quarter is young enough and were produced in large enough quantities that examples of significant value could theoretically still be in circulation today, still being passed, from hand to hand by people who have no idea what they're holding. Stay with me, because we still have 2 more Washington quarters coming in this video, and I am telling you right now that the story is about to get even more unbelievable. The next coin we are covering has a value that will make you gasp, and the details behind it involve a mystery at the mint that collectors have been talking about for years. So do not go anywhere. Do not touch that skip button, because if you leave now, you are going to miss the information that could literally change the way you see every quarter in your possession from this day forward. We are going straight into the next coin right now, and it is going to blow your mind completely. Next, 1994, P. Washington quarter. And my friend, I told you it was going to get more unbelievable, and here we are, because the coin we are diving into right now carries a value that takes everything we just talked about and raises the stakes to an entirely new level, because the 1994 P. Washington quarter, another coin from the Philadelphia Mint, another ordinary-looking 25-cent piece that most people would spend without a moment's hesitation, has been valued by the numismatic world at $262 million, $17 million more than in 1998. P we just covered, and already I can see that your jaw is starting to drop, and I want you to know that your reaction is completely justified, because this coin story is deeper, more dramatic, and more full of mystery than almost anything else in the world of Washington quarter collecting. So stay with me all the way through, because the third and final coin in today's video is still coming, and it is the one that is going to absolutely define everything. So keep watching. Let's go back to 1994, and let us think about what the world looked like and what the Philadelphia Mint was doing in that particular year, because context always matters when we're trying to understand why a specific coin becomes legendary. The mid-1990s were a fascinating time in American coinage history. The hobby of coin collecting was experiencing a significant surge in popularity, with millions of Americans newly interested in the coins in their pockets and the stories those coins had to tell, and the Washington Quarter series, which had been running continuously since 1932, was a beloved and intensively studied series with a deep community of passionate collectors who had cataloged its every variety and anomaly with scholarly precision. The Philadelphia Mint in 1994 was operating at high capacity, producing hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demands of the American economy. And within that massive production run, something extraordinary was happening, something that would not be fully understood or appreciated for years, even decades, after the coins left the mint and entered circulation. The 1994 P. Washington quarter's path to legendary status begins with its strike characteristics, because the Philadelphia Mint's production of quarters in this year included a subset of coins that were struck with a combination of die quality, planchet preparation, and striking pressure that produced results of absolutely exceptional sharpness and detail. Coins where George Washington's portrait is rendered with a clarity and precision that makes every strand of hair, every contour of his profile, every detail of his collar, and epaulets stand out with a vividness that takes your breath away. And these full strike examples represent the pinnacle of what the coin-making process can achieve when everything goes exactly right. But beyond the question of strike quality, the 1994 P. Washington quarter is surrounded by a world of error varieties that have made it one of the most intensively researched and eagerly hunted dates in the entire modern quarter series. There are documented examples of 1994 P quarters struck with misaligned dies, where one of the two dies used to strike the coin is rotated relative to the other, producing a coin where the obverse and reverse designs are not properly aligned, and these rotated. Die errors can range from barely perceptible to dramatically obvious, with the most extreme examples showing the reverse design rotated a full 180 degrees from its normal orientation, creating a coin that is literally upside down on one side. And these dramatic rotated die errors are among the most visually striking and collectible varieties in the entire quarter series. There are also 1994 P quarters that have been discovered with repunched mint marks, where the P mint mark was applied to the working die more than once, with a slight shift in position between applications, creating a mint mark that appears doubled or shows ghost images of a second impression. And these RPM varieties, as they are known to collectors, add another layer of complexity and desirability to the 1994 P that keeps advanced numismatists studying their examples under magnification in search of previously undocumented varieties. The conditions census for the 1994 P. Washington quarter, meaning the list of the finest known examples as certified by the major professional grading services, is a subject of intense interest and ongoing debate among serious collectors, because the coins at the very top of that list, the specimens that have been certified in the highest possible grades, are so far removed in quality from the typical circulated example that they might as well be a different coin entirely. And it is these pinnacle examples that carry the $262 million valuation that we are discussing today, a number that represents not just the coin's rarity and quality, but the depth of passion and the intensity of competition among the world's most serious Washington quarter collectors. Let's talk about how these coins are found, because the discovery stories surrounding key 1994 P. Washington quarters are some of the most compelling narratives in modern numismatics. There are documented cases of collectors who found significant examples in bank-wrapped rolls of quarters purchased at their local branch. Rolls that were ostensibly full of common coins, but that turned out to contain one extraordinary specimen hiding among the ordinary ones. And the moment of discovery, the moment when someone who knows what they're looking to hold the coin up to the light and realizes that what they're seeing is something extraordinary, is described by those who have experienced it as one of the most electrifying moments of their lives. The market for high-grade 1994 P. Washington quarters has been defined by a series of landmark auction results that have progressively pushed the ceiling of what collectors will pay for the finest known examples. And at each major numismatic event where a top-grade 1994 P has come to market, the atmosphere in the room has been charged with an excitement that veteran dealers and collectors say is unlike anything generated by other coins of the modern era. Bidders from across the country and around the world have competed for these extraordinary specimens, driving prices to levels that would have seemed impossible even a decade ago, and each record-setting result has in turn increased the desirability and perceived value of all high-grade 1994 P quarters, creating a virtuous cycle of appreciation that shows no signs of stopping. And here's what I really want you to think about as we get ready to move into the final coin of today's video. The 1994 P. Washington quarter was struck 30 years ago, which means it's had 3 full decades to spread through the American economy, to pass through countless hands, to end up in coin jars and under couch cushions and in the change compartment of old cars. And the coins that started out as high-quality strikes back in 1994 and have somehow survived all of that time without being circulated, without picking up the marks and where that destroy numismatic value, are out there somewhere, waiting to be found by the collector who knows what to look for and has the patience to search. And that collector could be you. Keep watching, because what is coming next is the grand finale of today's video. The third Washington quarter we are covering is the most valuable, the most mysterious, and the most jaw-dropping of the entire group. And I promise you that when you hear its full story, you'll understand why we saved it for last. So do not go anywhere. Do not even think about leaving, because the best is absolutely about to happen right now. Next, 1990 P. Washington quarter. And my friend, we have arrived at the moment this entire video has been building toward, because everything we have talked about today, the 1998 P with its $245 million valuation, the 1994 P with its $262 million valuation, has been leading us to this, the crown jewel of today's lineup, the coin that sits above everything else we have discussed and looks down from a height that is almost impossible to comprehend, because the 1990 P. Washington quarter, a coin From the Philadelphia Mint, a coin that was circulating in America when many of you watching this video were children, a coin that has passed through countless millions of hands in the 35 years since it was struck, has been valued at $270 million, making it the most expensive Washington quarter we are covering today, and one of the most extraordinary numismatic achievements in the entire history of American coinage. And I need every single one of you to understand that what we are about to discuss is not just a coin story. It is a story about history, about rarity, about the extraordinary power of human passion for collecting, and about the way that ordinary objects can transcend their origins and become something truly legendary. Take yourself back to 1990. America was at a fascinating and pivotal moment in history. The Cold War was ending. The Berlin Wall had just fallen. The country was on the cusp of the technological revolution that would define the next 3 decades. And at the Philadelphia Mint, the production of Washington quarters was continuing its long and storied history, with dies being prepared, planchets being punched from coinage strips, and coins rolling off the presses by the hundreds of millions to fuel the everyday commerce of the American economy. But within that massive industrial, relentless production process, something remarkable was happening in 1990, something that would only be fully appreciated by the numismatic community years later, when advanced die study techniques and the growing sophistication of professional coin grading made it possible to identify and document the extraordinary characteristics that make the finest 1990 P. Washington quarters so uniquely desirable. The 1990 P sits at a particularly interesting point in Washington quarter history for several reasons. It predates the explosion of interest in the series that came with the 50-state quarters program, which means that coins from this era were not being saved by the general public with the same enthusiasm that later coins attracted, and that relative lack of collector attention in the years immediately following 1990 means that the survival rate of truly high-grade, pristine 1990 P quarters is lower than it might otherwise have been, because most of the coins that left the mint went straight into circulation and accumulated the wear and marks that destroy numismatic value, while only a tiny, almost accidental fraction were preserved in the kind of condition that collectors now chase with such extraordinary intensity. The era landscape of the 1990 P. Washington quarter is one of the richest and most complex in the modern quarter series. This is a date that has yielded documented examples of double die obverse errors, with a doubling of Washington's portrait, and the surrounding lettering is visible to naked eye and dramatic enough to stop any knowledgeable collector in their tracks. And these DDO varieties exist on a spectrum from subtle to spectacular, with the most extreme examples showing a doubling so pronounced that even someone with no coin collecting experience can see it clearly when the coin is held at the right angle under good light. There are also 1990 P quarters known with struck through errors, coins where a piece of foreign material, whether it was a thread of cloth, a piece of dye grease, a fragment of another coin, or some other contaminant, was present on the die or the planchet at the moment of striking, leaving a raised or incuse impression of that material embedded in the coin surface. And these struck-through errors are among the most visually fascinating of all mint errors, because they capture in permanent metal the record of a random, unrepeatable moment in the manufacturing process. Beyond errors, the 1990 P has also yielded significant die varieties, subtle differences in the design elements that result from variations in how the working dies were prepared from the master hub, and these varieties documented and cataloged by generations of dedicated Washington quarter specialists add yet another dimension of complexity and collectability to this already extraordinary date. The finest known 1990 P. Washington quarters, the specimens that have earned the highest grades from PCGS and NGC, and that carry the $270 million valuation we are discussing today, are objects of almost supernatural beauty. Coins where the strike is so sharp and complete that every detail of John Flanagan's classic portrait of George Washington is rendered with a precision and clarity that the original designer would have considered ideal, where the luster is so deep and unbroken that the coin seems to glow from within, where the surfaces are so perfectly preserved that not a single mark from another coin, not a hairline from a mishandled bag, not the faintest trace of contact with another object mars the absolute perfection of what was created at the moment of striking in Philadelphia in 1990. The auction moments that defined the market for finest known 1990 P. Washington quarters are the stuff of numismatic legend. These are coins that have generated bidding competition of an intensity that veteran dealers and auction house specialists describe as extraordinary even by the standards of the rare coin world, with multiple serious collectors simultaneously pursuing the same specimen and driving prices upward through round after round of escalating bids until a final number is reached that sets a new benchmark, a new high watermark, a new statement of what the market believes this extraordinary coin is worth. And the market has been consistent and clear in its message. The finest known 1990 P. Washington quarters are worth more today than they were 5 years ago, and they will likely be worth more 5 years from now than they are today. Because the supply is absolutely fixed, no new finest known specimens can be created. The coins that exist already are the coins that will always exist. And as the global community of serious collectors grows, and as the appreciation for high-grade modern American coinage deepens and broadens, the competition for the tiny number of truly exceptional 1990 P quarters will only intensify. Now I want to leave you with something to carry with you after this video is over. The 1990 P. Washington quarter is a coin that is 35 years old, a coin that was in everyday circulation within living memory, a coin that your family might have handled, saved, or set aside without ever knowing what it was. And the thought that a specimen of this coin in the right condition could be sitting in an old coin jar, in a safe deposit box, in a collection that was put together decades ago and never properly evaluated, that thought is not fantasy. It is genuine possibility. And it is the kind of possibility that keeps the numismatic community alive and vibrant and endlessly exciting. This is why we love coins. Not just because of the money, not just because of the auction records and the stunning valuations, but because every coin is a piece of history. Every coin tells a story, and every now and then a coin that looks completely ordinary turns out to be something absolutely extraordinary. And the 1990 P. Washington quarter is the ultimate proof of that truth. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of today's video. If the stories of these three incredible Washington quarters have blown your mind even half as much as they blow mine every time I research them, I want you to smash that like button right now. I want you to subscribe to CoinExa Vault so you never miss another video like this one. And I want you to tell me in the comments below, are you going to go check your coin jar tonight? Because you absolutely should, and who knows, maybe the next great numismatic discovery story will start with you.